Hello and Happy New Year. It's the Movie Bunker podcast with me, Chris.
Matt.
A Happy New Year to all our wonderful listeners.
All of them. All of them. They deserve it. 2021, we made it, people.
Yeah, it's been an amazing year.
Yeah, this is when you know whether it's how far in advance it's been pre-recorded. So what a year that was.
Well, we're recording this in the very early start of 2021. We know it's going to be...
Sounds like the future, right? That's a crazy number.
And I guess we kind of know it's going to be so much better than 2020, even though it's kind of started off as it ended, 2020 ended. But we're going to look positive.
I was a bit weirded out by everyone going, let's just get New Year's out of the way. 2020's gone. And I'm like, you realise that nothing fundamentally will change tomorrow morning. It will still all be shit.
Well, I mean, most of the UK is as it was, and things don't seem to be in the short term going to be any better. But you know, if you're going to take a couple of months still to, if we kind of think that 2020 is going to at least be another couple of months before we start getting things organised. Hopefully, we all know the UK government has got everything under control. They know exactly what they're doing. We're going to get vaccinated. We're not going to get a mishmash of vaccines. It's going to be absolutely fine. And then we'll be back to the cinemas and back embracing each other and cuddling and kissing and touching each other.
Licking each other's faces like we used to.
Yeah.
All that lovely stuff.
All that fun that we used to have with the licking is going to come back tenfold. And I think, or you might just find this is the best it's ever been for me. I suit this lifestyle. I'm staying in. I'll never see anyone ever again. Because I think there's a large proportion of people that actually secretly are enjoying
they go like, this doesn't suck, I hate people, and now people bring food to my door. This is everything I've ever wanted.
Go away, I'm still not dressed. But yeah, it's been a fantastic year. 2020, if we look back at, we released a hell of a lot of episodes in 2020.
We did it.
We nailed that lockdown vibe. We contacted everyone again and again and again, and we put out some great podcast episodes.
We took full advantage of the fact that people were stuck at home and couldn't do anything. They're like, hello. Because the thing is, people can't say to you, oh, no, sorry, I'm busy that night. I'm going somewhere. Like, no, you're fucking not.
Yeah, I've got your detail. We are friends on Facebook, or we're friends on Twitter now. I can DM you directly. I know that you've seen the DM because it shows that you've read it. So there's no escape. There's no escape. The Movie Bunker podcast. Don't lie to us. But it's all come to a kind of crescendo. It's not like this is the first podcast of 2021, although technically it is. This is kind of the last podcast of 2020 in a way, because this is the big episode. Everything in our whole podcast live has been leading to this point.
It's true.
It feels like. Because it's the Cats episode, the Cats episode. We both saw it, and we've not spoken to each other about it yet. So we're going to come to the podcast as we normally do, with these thoughts fresh in our minds, having not really discussed it with each other. I watched it about 2 or 3 days ago as a family. How did you watch it, Matt?
Yes, also, we started as a family, it ended up on my own. So that kind of lets you know how much of a pull that was for the general family. It began as a family, so I thought there's a chance the kids might like this. The kids like cats. I mean, like, they don't like Cats the musical. They're not theatre people. No. They like the actual fucking animals, right? So I thought there's a chance that they will enjoy this. And they like a sing song. So
yeah.
Well, they were much more likely to enjoy this. Even as this film had been brilliant, they were much more likely to enjoy this than I was. So I thought it was only fair to have them on board, but they abandoned me, the little fuckers.
Well, in true podcast tradition, let's go with the trailer. So here's the trailer.
Seen you before, have I?
Open up and tell me if you find there the meaning of what happiness is. Then a new
I don't think there's been a more important here's the trailer before, because the trailer really this started it off. I mean, in terms of me being incredibly excited about this film, as soon as this trailer hit, the fucking internet went batshit crazy about how awful it looked and how weird and disturbing it was. And then from then, it was just a snowball of shit up until the point it launched, and then a little bit more shit after it launched. And then it just went the way of every movie bunker film. And yeah, just landed in our laps on Boxing Day of all days.
Yeah, a great Boxing Day movie, you'd think. A great release after Christmas. Everyone wants something, it's still Christmas. Everyone likes a good movie at Christmas. So, Sky Movies, which we both subscribe to, hook us up for free Sky if you're listening. They look, it's a perfect Boxing Day movie, had it not had all the baggage that it's had. Now, I want to say, look, there's plenty of reviews out there, and I've heard plenty of podcasts reviewing this film, and I've seen, and over the last 12 months or whenever this actually physically got released, it's got a lot of shit, and we're not going to jump on the bandwagon. We're going to do what we normally do with the films. We want to try and find the good things to say about it, because it would be completely unfair to kick this movie. But we
may mention some of the shit.
Oh yeah, of course we cannot. There's things wrong with it. But yeah, released in December last year. Year before last, 2019. The plot synopsis is thus: a tribe of cats called the Jellicles must decide yearly which one will ascend to the Heaviside layer and come back to a new Jellicle life. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, and I think that kind of says, that little plot synopsis really kind of encapsulates what the movie means, because it is a bit incoherent. So IMDb scored this low, as you can imagine. It got a 2.8 on IMDb,
which with a modern film is, I mean, we mentioned this quite a few times, because as we've sort of grown the podcast and we do more modern films, right? These films are having an incredibly high turnaround. Like, we're watching these films within a year of them hitting the cinema, so we're doing more modern films. And we've basically thrown out IMDb as a review system, because everyone upvotes, and everything ends up on a 5, because everyone that even remotely liked it gives it a 10 to try and counteract all the people that even remotely hate it, giving it a 0 or 1.
Yeah.
But for this to have 2.8.
Yeah, it's damning. And also, if you could float over to Rotten Tomatoes, as we always say, gives a bit more of a realistic view of how people are feeling. The tomato meter is a splatter of 20%, which is still not the lowest we've ever done, and an audience score of 53%, which is still low. Wow. So people didn't go and see it. I think the reasons are obviously there. Before we delve into it, let's talk about the cast.
Yes.
Now, if you're a movie director, right? And director, yeah. So, cast-wise, first, we show people or actors and that I would not normally be familiar with, although there's some big names in this as well that hold the movie up, or at least there to draw people in. But there's a lot of performing arts people that you wouldn't normally recognise. So, Robbie Fairchild plays I'm going to try and pronounce these cat names. Monk Custrap. You've got Meti Towley. Sorry if I've pronounced your name wrong. I know you listen every week. Cassandra. Daniela Norman plays Demeter. There's Jael Bitote. There's Larry Bourgeois and his brother Francesca Hayward. Look, I can't go on with these big kind of show people. They're obviously stage people, and I wouldn't know who they are. But then we get to sort of Hollywood A-listers that have been brought in. So the first one is Idris Elba, who plays
Ibris.
What did I say?
Ibris.
Who plays McVitie's? I mean McCavity. Who else have we got, Matt?
There's River Wilson, Jason Derulo, Jennifer Hudson's kind of in between those two camps that you spoke of there.
Yeah.
James Corden, Ray Winston, Judi Dench, Ian McKellen, and then Taylor Swift. I think they're the big ones that people recognise. Definitely. Like you said, there's a lot of, probably. I mean, even Francesca Hayward is her debut. She used to be a ballerina, I think. Prima ballerina.
Yeah.
So
we'll go back to her, because I think from everything. Well, I preceding this podcast, obviously knowing about it, listening to people talk about the film, the person that came off probably the best was her, based on, it was her debut performance in terms of screen and everything like that. So, and she did her best, and it must have been quite a difficult situation. But the director,
he joins a short list of people that have won both Razzie and an Oscar. So Tom Hooper, who's like normally incredibly capable, directed this. He obviously won an Oscar for The King's Speech. Did Les Mis as well. So he's got like Les Mis. For people that don't know,
Les Mis.
For people that are not, in the showbiz, Les Mis is Les Miserables.
I think it's Les Mis.
Les Mis. You call it just Les Mis in the biz.
It's not Les, it's Les Mis.
Les Mis.
No, it's not Les Mis. It's Les Mis. I can't even get that right.
Les Mis. Les Mis. Les Miserables.
Les Mis. It's not some sort of, I don't know, Phoenix Nights comedian.
Sounds like a 1980s English wrestler.
Welcome to the stage, Les Mis.
Here comes Les Miserables, known as Les Mis.
Ripping his t-shirt off, showing his guts.
I'd definitely be a fatty, Les Miserables.
Yeah. He died of a heart attack a couple of years ago. It's so sad. But yeah, Tom Hooper. Yeah, he's got some directing chops on him.
Yeah. And it was his, apparently it was his injection into this film, which took it away from being what it was going to be, which was an animated film. It's going to be purely animated. And he went, nah, why do that? We can have real life anamorphic cats people running around.
Yeah. And there's loads of stories about how this, when it was in production and we got the trailer and the trailer wasn't finished and there was lots of glaringly obvious issues with the CGI and what they'd done. And so there was lots of toing and froing, I remember, and people talking about it going back in for...
Well, even after it was launched, right? After it was launched, there was another cut made.
Yes.
There was more effects added for like the people that saw it on day 2. Rather than the people that saw it on day 1, kind of thing. Yeah.
They made some. Yeah, they were still working on it.
They Sonic the Hedgehog did, I think, is the business term for it.
So the original version went out to the theaters, and then yes, there was some issues with it. Like background stuff wasn't finished. So you could see sleeves and you could see watches and jewelry on people that wasn't supposed to be there. And so there was another cut that was rushed out with corrections the very next day. I think, as you quite rightly said, and I mean, you can go and read internet columns, blogs, and inches and inches about. There's plenty to read on. There's the whole thing we've talked about on the podcast before about the butthole cut. There's they did a version with the cats with bums, anuses, and then one without them, and apparently, I mean, we don't know how much is true. I mean, let's go through our notes. I think the best thing to do is to go through what we thought. Now, I mean,
have you ever seen the stage show? By the way, I don't know if you have.
No, but it's one of the most popular apart from Les Mis. It's been going for years and years. Andrew Lloyd Webber, obviously. I mean, to be honest, from what I know about musicals, which is very little, although I have seen more in the last few years than I would have done normally, is that this isn't particularly the best musical anyway. There is a bit of a story shortage. That it's not got a fantastic story.
If we talk about the film and how it came to be, so I mean, the stage show, obviously it's based on the stage show, which in itself is based on T.S. Eliot's book of short stories about random cats. So it's something that was like fundamentally always not a linear story. It was just, this is this type of cat and a little poem about that type of cat. This is this type of cat, and this is a little poem about that type of cat. So maybe lending itself to stage show because they could, I mean, people don't go to the theatre to see a coherent, well thought out story with a decent third act and, a payoff at the end. They go there for the spectacle and the songs and maybe have sweets thrown at them. At some point. I don't know, because I'm not a big theatre person.
Underlining sort of, I mean, not to say what you're saying is wrong, but yeah, but I mean, for a successful stage show to be successful, to switch that sentence around a bit, it does have to have a fantastic storyline. It has to be delivered well, and it has to draw you in, and you have to believe it and want to come back. And the songs are there to build it, to build the world and stuff like that. So yeah, this works on a different level, I believe, based on exactly what you said. There's short segments of things that are tied together at the end in just a big dance off. But you're right. The Cats is fundamentally shouldn't be called Cats. It should be called Cats Introducing Other Cats or Themselves. That should be the title, because that's all I got from it. And I was thinking,
like a cat Tinder.
Yes. When will the story start? And the story, whatever thread of story there is there, it seems to be centered around the main cat who's abandoned at the very beginning and picked up by these jellicle cats, which I thought was angelical cats when I first said, and just reading the plot synopsis now has corrected. It's
one of those weird things, right? So it's like it's a hard word to grasp of what they're fucking saying, and they say it a lot. So you're like, oh my god, they're saying that word again. What the fuck is that word? This was probably the film I've Googled during the most, to go, what the fuck did they just say, and like type in what I thought. And when you're not alone, because Google, you get halfway through a badly typed word and Google goes, oh, did you mean jellicle cats? And you're like, aha, yes, Google, I did, amongst the other millions of people that are obviously been Googling in the cinemas whilst watching this film.
Yeah, because it all we see is, I mean, there are lots of cats in this, and they're all different shapes and sizes. One of the main things I couldn't quite get my head around is, I think one of the main issues that people picked up on very early on is the size and the kind of dynamics of how the cats work and interact with the world around them doesn't quite work at all in any scene. It kind of just goes from one kind of extreme to the other. They're either the size of mice, or they're bigger horses at some points. I don't know, but this like the storyline which we were originally talking about, this kind of thread that's going through it is this Idris Elba's character, McVitie or whatever, is this kind of mystical cat that comes and goes and appears, and he's what was that all about?
I don't know. There was various magical elements, to be fair. So from what I can gather, and this is what I gathered, there was like 4 or 5 special cats that were in running to ascend, right? To give, excuse me, a bit windy pops, to get given a special prize. And McVitie the cat didn't reckon on his chances of winning this competition fairly. So, just think of like, Jedward in X Factor. No way are they going to win it on merit. It's basically Jedward running around killing the other X Factor contestants. Well, he doesn't kill them. He manages to magic them away, and then Ray Winston ties them up on a boat.
Yes,
it's odd. There's no denying that it's odd. And I guess the thread, the kind of every man, us person is Francesca's character in this, right? So she gets like dumped in an alleyway and is basically introduced to this world and taken through the audition process. She's our entry to this magical world of cats which can do magical things, based on a series of random short stories. It's odd. It is odd. And the thing is, I don't think anyone could have done this. I mean, definitely visually, it could have been improved one way or the other, right? Either just make it a cartoon, or just make people have like cat's ears and have just people with cat's ears, like they do on the stage show. Just the visuals could have definitely been improved, but fundamentally, the story isn't strong enough.
No,
Les Miserables.
is
a musical based on a book, so the story's there. They can take that and go, there's the story, which has some songs, whereas this was just some songs, no story of any note. And you need a story to have a film. You need a story.
And also you need characters that you can understand who they are, where they fit, because there's so many names being thrown at you all the time.
Oh, and they're not normal names, are they? I mean, let's just go through some of Mr. Mistopheles.
Yeah, Rum Tum Tugger.
Rum Tum Tugger.
Which is, I mean, I think I've had a few Rum Tum Tuggers in my life.
Rumple Teaser. Mungo Jerry. Now, is Mungo Jerry like, because there's a band called Mungo Jerry?
Oh yeah,
right?
Mungo Jerry. Yes, yeah.
Is that based on cats, or was cats based on them?
They probably thought it was a good name when they probably from the book that it originated from, and they probably took it from that. But
Jelly Lo Rum, Jelly Lo Rum, Jelly Lo Rum.
Skimbleshanks, the railway cat.
Oh yeah, let's not forget that.
Skimbleshanks.
Tantamil. I mean, yeah, it's like Lord of the Rings without any visual clues.
But you mentioned earlier on about the ears, and the ears. I just until you said that, I hadn't really thought about it. They're kind of too pricky uppy, aren't they? They're kind of like weird triangles on their heads.
I mean, okay, so we should probably, rather than dancing around, I mean, this is obviously the thing that's been picked up most. We should probably focus in on the visuals for a little bit.
Yeah.
You mentioned the scale. Now, they try to maintain a scale of 4:1, which apparently is kind of the average cat thing, but it doesn't look right. Like you say, sometimes you go, Jesus Christ, that's a fucking tiny cat. And other times you're like, oh, no, that would be quite a big cat. But then there's also the CGI of everything that's around them, and it had very much the look and feel sometimes of a WhatsApp filter when someone moves a little bit too quickly. And there's a bit of a lag, and sometimes the head seems to shrink because it's still not quite right. They haven't worked out the geometry correctly, and other times it's like it looks fine. I mean, a lot of the time it looks fine, right? There's no denying that.
No, I on the whole, although a lot of the issues with the effects were glaringly obvious, it wasn't a massive. I knew what I was going in, knowing exactly what to expect, so it didn't bug me. The scaling issues, I kind of knew that would be a problem. I think the main thing that bugged me was just the face on the cat. It's just the way it looks.
Yeah, because they were at both times so very, very cat-like, and also really not.
Yeah,
it is odd.
Several of the cats that the comedy cats, as I would call them. So, not Ray Winston. I guess Ray Winston looked all right.
Kind of comedy.
Yeah, Rebel Wilson and the other guy, James Corden, the comedy cats to call them, were fine, in terms of what they were there to do.
Again, that was like lazy casting, lazy something. I don't know. Because everybody comedy was fat. It's like, Jesus, you fucking lazy bastards.
Yeah, and then you had the Judi Dench and Ian McKellen kind of, we're old cats.
We're old cats.
Yeah. Oh yes. God,
so how do you become a cat? Well, first of all,
you must lick your balls.
Actually, one of my very few notes was meow, 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 which I think Gandalf in this film is the only cat to actually meow. And as at one point the camera's panning past Gandalf, he does go meow, meow, meow. Like, it's such a bad thing. It's like cats don't make that noise, and B, no one in this film, because that would kind of indicate that for the rest of the film they weren't talking in their normal cat tongue.
Yeah.
Like if you're meowing and that's your normal way of speaking as a cat.
Well, no. Do you think he got method, Matt? He just got method.
No, I didn't remember. He was.
They had to bring him a saucer of milk and just lure him out.
It was in his transition period between man to cat.
Oh, you see, I must become a cat. You see, I need the cat. It's me.
Meow, 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 meow.
And any director who casts me as a cat must be prepared to empty my litter tray. It's quite simple.
It's in the corner.
Judi Dench is doing the same thing. She's kind of just this forlorn old cat, kind of going, yes, well, it's hard to be angelical, whatever it is we're trying to say. I don't bloody know. I've never seen the music.
But she had that massive coat on, which for a lot of it, because it matched her fur colour, it just made her look like she was proper hench. Yeah. Like she looked like Arnie Schwarzenegger of the cat world. She looked totally ripped.
And it all kind of everyone who goes to see the show, it kind of, from what I know of the show prior to this movie being made, is the big song, the Grisabella song.
Yes.
And Jennifer Hudson does a version of it with a snotty nose.
Oh, I wrote that down as well. Just like,
Really?
why? She's got a constant snot trail the whole way through the film.
And I get it, she's sad, but she's not even in it for very long. She's looking on, and then she gets to go she gets to go on the hot air balloon, doesn't she, at the end? Which
She
is
gets
the
a little
ascending
trip at the
thing.
side at the end.
Where is she going? Why is she?
Oh, they send her to her death. That's like this big prize that they're all working for. They fundamentally attach a cat to a balloon and let it go, and then are all happy about themselves.
I mean, I love the song. I do think the song is amazing, and when it's sung, is sung with the power and what it's supposed to be about. And well, I still don't really know. It's a great song, and
let's not beat around the bush. Like Jennifer Hudson can fucking whack out a tune, and it's a big old tune. And as I say, you can tell this is a good tune because it's played 3 times in the film. It's also the incidental music that is part of that fucking song. It's the only song that you'll remember after watching this film, apart from the Mr. Matoffele's one, which is just insane. But yeah, it's the only thing, it's the only reason to come and watch this film is for this payoff of that song.
Yeah. What did you think about the little mouse band and the cockroaches? They were quite fun.
They weren't. No, they weren't.
Oh, the little mices.
The little mice.
The little mices, yeah. Played by kids. I thought that was quite cool. I thought my kids would like that. They were a little bit meh. And they got all the little dancing cockroaches. Some of them get eaten. But the little show thing with our friend of the podcast, which I've forgotten her name, Rebel Wilson. That was quite good. Whether she was doing Rebel Wilson, it's like
Rebel Wilson as a cat.
So let's get back on track because
before we move off.
Visuals.
The last visual, and one of my notes was the thing that I had the biggest issue with is the clothing, because some cats had some clothing, other cats had no clothing. Only one cat wore trousers. 2 cats wore shoes. But the biggest jar of it all was McCavity, who, when we first see him, has got like ruffled fur coat and a cool fucking mean looking hat. Yeah. And I think his visual, when you first get introduced to McCavity, it makes you think this is what the whole film should have been like. They shouldn't have worried about making everything look proper cat-like. They should have dressed people with cat-like elements. So then they would look cool. Yeah. But then later on, he turns up, he's not wearing that hat and a coat anymore. So he is naked. And it is weird because it does actually look like Idris Elba's just prancing around nude for a bit. Yeah. It's odd. And it's that jar between, like, if he never had that clothes on, if we just met him and he'd just been lounging around as a cat, then that's fine. But then later on, he's still got those clothes on. It's like, right, now you look naked.
They needed to make a decision, and I think that's where all the issues lie. Is that I don't think they really knew what they were doing with the cats and until the very last. Got to feel really sorry for the amount of effects staff that would have been on this trying to sort this out. And
what a job!
And then the film gets absolutely slated afterwards because of the effects. And you think, fucking worked my arse off on that movie for 12 months. The director was a prick. No one knew. We didn't have a clue what we were doing. They kept changing their minds. And you just think, it's awful. And then you get pricks like Rebel Wilson and James Corden coming on at the Oscars and ripping the shit out of it like they were in on the joke. They knew it was going to be a stinker. They didn't. They went full into this movie. You can tell, like, the pre-show sizzle reels and stuff they were doing. They were like, "You have not seen anything like this before. This is going to blow your socks off." And then when it comes out and gets an awful applause, they turn their backs on it and go, "Yeah, we knew it was shit." Yeah, and I think that sucks.
I told the director what he was doing wrong, but didn't listen to me, did he?
Did you see that the thing with Rebel Wilson and James Corden? They basically came out to get nominees for something, and they came out dressed as cats in like a thing, and they were just taking the piss basically. They came out trying to bat the microphone and be cats, and they was like, ha ha ha, look, they're taking the piss out of themselves, taking the piss out of the movie that they were in, that they absolutely were fully endorsing, and now they've, and it just seems a bit like cheap to do that when, you go into these things and you fully endorse them, and for whatever reason it doesn't work, and not everything works. There's lots of
on set, right? So on set when they were filming this, what were they? What were they wearing? What did they look like? Were they like proper, just like, green lycra up and then, wait for the surprise? Or did they have elements of the costumes on?
No, they would have.
Was there makeup?
Yeah, I doubt it. They probably would have had a degree. There would have been a lot of green screen. They would have been wearing not morph suits. What do you call them? Like green suits, or they would have been wearing just leotards or whatever. I don't know. I'm just making this up, but I can imagine they were thinking, yeah, fucking post-production on this is going to look amazing. And you've got executives and studio people going, yeah, this is going. The director's doing what he can. The musical numbers and the dancing's all coming together as they're filming it, and thinking, yeah, this looks like an absolute blast. And then they get all the footage and they go, now what the fuck we do? We actually don't know how big are the cats going to be. The tails are too long. They look like fucking lemurs. And then it just, I don't work in. We're not fucking we're not film critics by trade. We don't have a fucking clue what we're talking about. We don't know anything.
Let on to the secret, Chris.
Pre or post production or anything like that. We don't know about movie sets or nothing, but we know enough as film fans to know that fundamentally a lot went wrong, because the end product is strange.
Yes, it is strange and it's jarring, and it makes you feel uncomfortable watching it.
But I wasn't as shocked as I thought I would be. I thought I heard all the awful stories about it. I listened to the reviews. I saw the trailers. I thought, wow, that looks interesting. And then all the shenanigans that happened afterwards and stuff. And I thought, I'm going to be in for a real treat here. It's going to be a shocker. But apart from being confused, a little bit bored from all the numbers, I wasn't quite into all the numbers. It was continuous song after song and introduction, no kind of plot to speak of, and that kind of just made me feel a bit weird. And I felt confused. I'd had a few drinks watching it as well as I'd gone through the afternoon, because it was Christmas, Boxing Day, or day after Boxing Day we watched it.
Yeah.
And so I was feeling
fully your right to do so, Chris. Don't feel bad about that.
I was glazed over a little bit because of the alcohol, but I thought that would enhance the situation. But it didn't. It just kind of moved through. But I kind of wasn't angry at it. I was just confused and a bit like, oh well, that's Cats. Could see what all the fuss is about, but it didn't really make me feel anything strongly either way. Just knew it was not right, and probably a bad decision, and a waste of everybody's time.
Yeah. I mean, the problem with this film happened a long way before it got released, right? It was the art direction that they chose to take was a bad choice, and then the decision to not CGI things properly until the last moment. I think I read on IMDb that the CGI people had like 4 months to do the trailer, 6 months to do the trailer, then 4 months to do the rest of the film. So it's no wonder that it was right to the last moment, and then just beyond the last moment that they actually got something that they would probably not be particularly proud of themselves out the door. Because I guess if you watch the trailer, there's none of this jarring stuff, right? You don't see any of the sort of slightly weird headpieces or anything else like that. So yeah, I don't know what people expected, because I think you mentioned earlier, it's not renowned as a great story piece of a musical theatre show. So why would it suddenly become, unless he just threw all that shit out and went, right, we're not going to do Cats. What we're going to do is we're going to have this film about cats, and at the end we're going to sing memories. I mean, unless he did that, then he's on a hiding to nothing. There's no way you're going to make this film. You're not going to make it, And every time we do a musical, I always say this, but the Greatest Showman's got a lot to fucking answer for, because if that hadn't done fucking gangbusters, not only in the cinema and DVDs and hitting the charts for fucking 2 years afterwards, if it hadn't done that, then we wouldn't have had this sudden clamour by film execs to go, right, quick, let's get another musical and capture that spirit of The Greatest Showman again. it just wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it kind of. We haven't had every studio, I think, was looking for something spectacular, singing, dancing, because they knew there was an appetite for this, and they kind of envisioned that either way, if this goes bad or good, there's going to be screenings where people can go along to the sing-along versions.
Yeah,
and we're gonna make money out of repeat viewings, and the soundtrack's going to make money, and it's like Hamilton on Disney Plus has come out. It was an absolute roaring success. I mean, that stage version with that original cast is 2016, as far as I'm aware. And so to get that original cast back to record it's quite an old recording. It's not a brand new recording. Stick it out as a film, if you like, as an event on Disney Plus was a fantastic idea to do. And the soundtrack is good. The song is fantastic. It's well written. The story is gripping. It's not quite historically accurate, but it thunders along. It draws you in, and they're thinking, look, this could have done the same. I guess if it was something else, like, I don't know, what's the other one, the Starlight Express, and
is that any better in terms of storyline?
I don't think it is, but Phantom of the Opera,
yeah, that's got a story, right?
It's
got a decent story.
Evita, that's done well. And so in all periods of kind of the last 20-30 years, musicals have made the transition to film in pretty good ways. Les Mis is a good example. That did.
I still, every time you say that now, I have a massive fat wrestler in my mind.
Les Mis.
I'm Les Miserables, and I'll make you cry.
I want you. All greased up.
His signature move, the titty twister.
The rum tub tugger.
Rum tub tugger.
Where
are
we going now?
Tugger.
Where are we going now then with this, Matthew?
Like you say, it's hard to. It feels very much like beating a cat in a bag, because everyone's been there and they've taken their pounding on it before, so it does feel a little bit mean. I was really excited to see this, and like you say, I wasn't horrified by it. And if you like Memory the song, then watch it. I mean, maybe not watch the whole film, just fast forward to like the last 20 minutes, I think, then it appears in, because it's a fucking it's a crowd pleaser. I just wish they had thrown coats on a lot of them. It would have it would have saved the CGI department 20% of their work, because they've been partly covered. Visually it's fucking weird. It's too peoply and too catty at the same time.
Would you watch it again?
No.
Not even for
but
fun.
Then I'm not a big musicals person's fan. And I think if someone was a big Cats fan, they'd gone to see the stage show 4 or 5 times, they probably would watch this if it came on twice.
Well, listen, Matt, if we were old 2009 18 Movie Broker podcast, we would have been scrolling through looking for 10 out of 10 reviews, but as we don't do that anymore. No. There would been lots of musical theatre fans that would have loved this movie, because they just love this kind of thing, and if you do, that's amazing. And I guess if it reached people and people enjoyed it, then that's the main thing. For like I say, this is definitely a bunker movie for me. It will never leave. No. Just probably for the fact that it's just not right for people to see on screen. But I feel bad about making that choice now, but I guess that's just the role we have. So Matt, shall we do our new quiz?
Yes, the snappily titled Guess a Film from the plot.
The plot keywords on IMDb. Is that it?
That's as succinct as we've currently made it, yes. Can we make an acronym of that, or an initialization of that? I don't know if we can.
Maybe something you can put for the show notes. So, as every week, I mean, this is the second week we've done it, but yes, we take it in turns to pick a movie, and then by reading the plot keywords, which is something we kind of developed over the last few podcast episodes, you have to decide. No, you have to guess what the movie is by the use of the plot keywords. You get 10 guesses.
Right, and what I'm going to do this time, because last time I struggled horribly, is I'm going to make a note of how many guesses, because I still don't know really how many you took.
No, I did it. I went up to about 8 or 9, and I hadn't even seen the film because I checked, so it was hard for me.
Have you seen it since, or have you seen Christopher the Crank since?
No.
Oh, what the fuck are you doing over Christmas, man?
I don't know. I was too busy.
Rum tum tugging.
Right. So instead of Christmas is over and done with. The New Year's,
Yep.
and there's no kind of New Year's movies. So on trend to what we're doing on fleek, we've got a musical. So I've picked a musical, a film of the musical genre, and I'm going to read out.
This isn't going to be any obscure, weird little, there was this one film once where there was a beautiful musical.
No, I've picked
in Korean.
I've picked a decent one for you, but it's going to start hard, and then it's going to get easier. As
just like Rum Tum Tugger.
Always. Okay. So here we go.
I'm ready.
First plot keyword.
Yeah.
Is crush.
Crush.
Yeah.
Now, is this crush as in break entirely the spirit of?
Could well be.
Crush as in, I fancy that person.
Mm-hmm. Not saying, I can't tell you.
Can't tell me. I realise I don't actually know that many musicals.
No, but don't forget, I've not picked an obscure one, and I'm starting hard because there are some extremely obvious plot keywords that will give this away in like one word.
Okay, right. I'm going to go crush as in fancy love, and I'm going to go with Romeo and Juliet.
No, it's not a musical.
It is?
No, it's
They're
not.
Singing it loads.
No, there's not. It's not
They're
a
musical numbers, right?
No, it's a play.
No, Romeo and Juliet with Leonardo DiCaprio in it.
No, but that's just a modern version of.
Love me.
Yeah, that's just the single that was released for the film. Okay, second word.
Right, fine.
Unrequited love.
Oh, see, Romeo and Juliet fits again. A
Yeah.
little bit. Unrequited love.
So that's number 2.
Wow, unrequited love. So who loves? And it's a song, and they sing about it, and it's a musical. Which apparently I'm struggling with musicals and just films with singles.
Well,
attached to them.
you're only on word number 2, so you know.
Yeah. I'm literally struggling to think of an actual musical. Les Mis.
No, not Les Mis.
Les Mis.
Do you want number 3?
Go on in.
I'll go a little bit easier for you. Abusive boyfriend.
Abusive boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Abusive. Is it musical? What kind of fucked up musicals is this?
Yeah.
Abusive boyfriend.
Yeah.
What's that thingy bob one? Hairspray.
No.
Okay.
You're writing these in. I can hear your keyboard tapping.
I'm typing in my guesses and your words, so I'm making notes as I go.
Okay.
Otherwise I'll forget.
Another one is coming. This is getting slightly easier now.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is plot word number 4, which is eclipse.
Eclipse.
I
don't know this.
There is an eclipse.
There's an eclipse in a musical.
Yarp.
Oh.
Now, I'm guessing you would have seen this, and you would certainly know it very, very well. It is a very popular musical.
West Side Story.
No. There's a lot of musicals out there, and they're not all in the kind of vein that you are giving me at the moment.
Right.
So you're giving me a lot of
proper big
musicals.
musicals.
Yeah, and this is a proper big one. It's had stage shows. It's been on recently. Again, there's versions of it. But yeah, I'll go another one.
Right.
Motorcycle.
Motorcycle.
It's quite a big motorcycle bit in it. Ish.
Grease?
Nope.
Oh, that's good.
So that's good. Okay. What's that? Number 5. So it's number 6 now. I've got to get a bit easier for you. Now, the thing is, when I get easier, it becomes incredibly easy.
This is trouble I had, but then realised you hadn't seen the film and it didn't matter.
This is going to get you more or less. This one is going to get you more or less on the right track, I think. Black comedy.
The fuck?
As in, it's a comedy, but a dark comedy.
Little Shop of Horrors?
Yes.
Yay!
See,
I'm actually writing Little Shop of Horrors down, even though this has no value anymore.
the thing is, I'm kind of keeping all the kind of killer plant, talking plant, indoor plant, dentists,
Indoor dentists there would have absolutely
murder,
abusive boyfriend. I can't really remember that bit.
Well, he was not very nice to what's her name in the plot, was she? They have the young unrequited love.
Yeah,
Seymour and
Freedom Seymour.
Yeah. So yeah, Steve Martin was not very nice to Ellen Green, who played Audrey. But yes, that was it.
So 5 points. 5 imaginary points of no value.
So far, you did better than I did last time, based on the fact
I'd actually seen it.
Yeah. Little Shop of Horrors. So you must run out and watch that now. 1986. Well, I mean, that's a good quiz. I think that's going to have legs. I enjoyed doing that.
Yeah. I don't know what our next film is, but whatever our next film is, it'll be me challenging you to that genre of film, whatever that genre is.
And I think it really helps to plan ahead as well to get that one to.
Yeah, no, it really showed.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, that's it, I guess, for the Movie Bunker podcast for this episode this year, not this year, but think of this as a bolt-on to 2020, and now we're gonna look forward to 2021 and all the marvelous Movie Bunker movies that the overlords will force us to watch, and the guests that we're gonna have to, I don't know how we're gonna bribe them to come on the show again. Although,
before we go, Chris, can I ask you a question? And I am throwing this upon you. Yeah. What was your favourite Movie Bunker of last year?
That's a really good question. I think the ones that stick out for me are the ones where I kind of learned something from the guests that we've had on, and something when I go back or when the guests come with information and are well read about the movie that they've chosen, and not just sort of, actually that's all of them, but we kind of, when we do the podcasts on our own or the episodes on our own, we do a film based on the fact that we know it's had a bad panning.
Yes.
And we go into it clean. We have or we haven't seen it before. It doesn't really matter. We just go in and analyze it and look at it and see what we think. But with the guests, the concept with the guests is that obviously they must like it, they must enjoy it, and they want it. They think it's camp and classy. So the ones where we learn stuff are always the best. So with the guests, I guess, one that sticks to my mind is Anaconda with Matthew Hyton, which is the one where I never knew that the Anaconda itself was voiced and had a voice actor.
Yeah, he's really famous voice actor.
A really famous voice actor, which I've forgotten his name, but he's done like most of the cartoons from the 80s that we would have watched.
Yeah.
And many, many other voice acting work, and he actually got a proper voice acting. And that's something that I've retained and I will use if I'm ever on a guest on another podcast or something else. So I've taken his fun fact. So that was a good one. And I guess, Equilibrium was a good one with James Dyer, National Treasure with Anna, and
we only asked for one, so you're fine.
Oh, sorry, yes. So yeah, I think Anaconda was one that sticks out in my mind.
Yeah, it was a good one, like that.
Well, how about you, Matthew? What did you think?
Yeah, a few stick out on the old mind, but mostly I think if I think back on the year and very much like yourself, it's a fact brought to the podcast by a guest that stuck out in my mind was King Arthur with Clarice Loffrey, a friend of the show, been on twice, because she points out that fundamentally the narration is done by 2 horses at the end of the film, which it never occurred to me, and it's just after you've seen the film and then you watch it again and you realize that it's being narrated by a magical horse, then you're just it adds a different level to it. It's just amazing after that.
I'll have to go back and listen to that episode like I do most of them, because I sit in my shed and listen to them all. But yeah, that one, I had forgotten about that little nugget. That's fantastic.
It's a good nugget.
It's a good opportunity to thank all our fantastic guests that we've had.
Yeah, they were brilliant and very supportive.
All our listeners across the world that tune in whenever these episodes get dropped, and thanks for your support. It's been amazing. And don't forget to go on the various platforms and social media and like us there, because that's, I guess you can't like us physically. Well, you can, but it's
it's hard because we're reprehensible in person.
It's very gratifying, as they say, with this modern age of modern technology and social media. It's very gratifying. It's like getting shot with some sort of magic social media jargon when you get a like. Oh, we're liked. They do like us.
Or a
Yeah,
retweet. Oh, they retweeted.
Or someone says something nice to us on not an interview, on a review, or we get a rating. It's like when Alderaan is blown up in Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
And it's like thousands of voices cry out. It's a bit like that, really.
Yeah, but it's not 1,000. It's just
then I realised
a single voice cries out in the darkness.
Yeah. I just realised that it's just my notifications are on. That's all. I need to turn them off, and the phone vibrates in my pocket.
Get back to playing with your lightsaber and a drone.
Yeah, rum tum tugger. Right, we're not going to advertise anything else this week. We're going to leave it dry. Because the rambling section is the best part, as most people are still tuning into this fucking part.
You've got to be committed to get to this bit. This is where we should give away money and see if anyone ever claims it. If you listen to this far and you tweet us with the code, we'll send you a tenner.
I noticed as well that we promise so much in this part of this. In future episodes, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to send this out to you, send us your address, we've got badges, all the stuff we always say that we're going to do is always in this part of the podcast.
Yeah.
And I realised we never get any repercussions, never outtake on it or anything, because people switch off.
Yeah, it's like, they've stopped talking about the film, they're just rambling now. Time to leave.
The thing is, I think most podcasts do this, or independent podcasts at least, where there's no like production person looking after the whole operation. All like independent podcasts
smash it at the end.
Have a rambling aspect, but a lot of them, I think, from what I've heard, have them in the middle or the beginning, and that's what people turn off to straight away. So I think if we do it at the end, it's only the hardcore bunkerites that will come this far and just spend a lovely, extra half an hour of the podcast.
Well, in terms of, for them, it's just 10 minutes, but in terms of me editing it, it's like 6-7 hours of stuff that I have to cut out.
Oh, well. We'll end it there. We'll do the big finish. So thanks ever so much again for listening to the podcast. This episode has been a great fun episode to do. Cats has been our movie we've been looking forward to.
It's been quite well.
Yeah. So until next time, it's goodbye.
Just goodbye. Just from yourself this time, right?
Yeah,
you're just saying goodbye for you. Fine. Then I can also say goodbye from a personal point of view.
Hi.
And merry 2021, everybody.
Yes, enjoy your injection if you get it.
Oof. Fun times.